I'm happy to be able to show you assemblies today, and I just want to go over some of the benefits of using assemblies. Um, I'm sure most of you who utilize Revit have probably used quite a bit of groups. Okay, groups are okay; they're fine to use. Some people have a tendency to use a little too many groups. Okay, within a project. But groups are fine. But we have assemblies which are much more better to use than groups. Depending on what you need to construct, what you need to document, assemblies will clearly benefit how you are able to document those objects. Okay, assemblies can be scheduled. Okay, they have properties. You could add many parameters if you choose to add parameters. They could be tagged. And the best part of it is the schedules and tagging. Okay. So as I do my presentation today and I go through my demonstration, I want you to think about how do you utilize groups now. Okay. Um, the nice thing about assemblies is that they could be independent of the actual project. So basically, if I have a project and I need to detail something, let's say you guys have RFIs that you need to submit somehow, okay? You could easily create documentation for that RFI. You could create schedules from that RFI, okay? So we're going to go through the process of learning the assemblies, what we could actually do to them. I'm going to come in here and give you who could use assemblies, okay? Everyone. All disciplines in the Revit design industry can use it. So the engineers, architects, um, MEP engineers, they're all capable of using assemblies. You just have to find your way. An example would be the MEP engineers. Okay, they have a system they want to basically set up and display. So yes, you could take a system and you have one piece of equipment and you have some piping or conduits or something running from one piece to another piece. You could create an assembly from that and basically display that with individual documentation. Okay, uh, those of you who heavily use groups, okay, um, you should take a deep look into the assemblies here, okay. And when I state that, I'm stating that assemblies will benefit you a lot more because here's what I've noticed. Um, when I go to different firms and I talk to different clients, and look at their projects. They have groups outside of the project. So if you zoom extents on their 3D views, they have all these groups sitting outside. And I state, that's okay, but you have to worry about, you know, cropping those items out of the project. Okay, and then they, heavily slow down your project if you need to manipulate them. So assemblies may be a tool you want to look at because you won't have to create those objects outside the project in order to view them. Okay. Um, Assemblies are great for contractors and fabricators because it's easy to document the objects that you typically work with. Okay. Um, So if I go in and I'm working with, let's say I'm working with concrete panels, I could basically make an assembly out that, and from there I could easily create, you know, construction documents with that. So let's get in. Let me go in and let me start displaying what we need to work with. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay, let me open up Revit. Okay, so I have Revit open here, and essentially, I have a floor plan that I basically created for this. And I just want to display some of the things in this floor plan so you understand what's going on. I'm going to hide the grids right here. And in here, basically, you see a simple floor plan of an office. I have rooms attached to that office, and the importance of the rooms is this: the type of families that I'm going to work with in order to create an assembly has multiple units in it, multiple families. And what I want to do is display to you exactly when I create an assembly, how it basically makes that assembly one unit. You could call it. I give it an example as nested families. And with that nested family, okay, or that assembly, we could basically go in and create a schedule from it, okay? So let me go open a furniture plan here, okay? And oops, sorry, okay. And basically, you can see that I have some cubicles set up here, okay? The cubicles, I could go, let's take a look at the cubicle. You can basically see I have a 3D view here. Okay, so it's a cubicle and it has a great many, I have a set of panels, I have desk, I have a couple of file cabinets, keyboards, and a chair in here. All right, so basically I'm going to go and I'm going to make an assembly out of that. Okay, so with me creating let me go open this assembly schedule right here, this furniture schedule, okay? So you can see that in the floor plan, I have a set of rooms, okay, room number 201, and all that this is in the room. Now, yes, we could go in and we could go filter the schedule out, and we could basically say, okay, well, how many desks we have or you could use your room schedules, okay, to basically dictate that, okay? But what I want to do is when I create an assembly schedule, you can see that I could basically say, this is the cubicle I have for that particular room, and how many cubicles do I have in that particular room, okay? Plus, you'll see the benefits of the assemblies when we go and create additional schedules, okay? Also, the cubicles consist of furniture systems. So you can see here's all my furniture systems here. I have quite a bit here. And yes, I could go filter things out and I could try to manipulate the schedule so that I could go in and place them, um, by particular areas such as the room number. Okay. So what I want to do is this. I'm going to go back to my furniture plan and I'm going to create an assembly. Okay. The hardest part about creating assemblies is making sure you choose the right objects. You don't want to choose objects that are not part of the group, okay? So when I come in and I select certain objects here, okay, I'm going to come in here and you can see that I'm being very careful. I don't want to pick the vertical wall on the right side here, okay? I'm just going to come in here and I want to choose these objects. When I choose objects, I can choose the assembly button, create assembly, okay? And when I go to create this assembly, it's going to ask you what category do I want to place this assembly in. Whatever objects you choose to create an assembly, it will take those objects and give you all their categories. So I'm going to choose here, furniture, okay? So even though I have furniture systems, the panels included in the group, okay, it's going to name this, it's going to basically put it in the category of furniture, okay. I'm going to give this furniture, I'm going to call this type name, I'm going to call this 001 CL, okay, for corner left, okay, so this is the left corner of the cubicle, and I'm going to click OK here, okay. And once you click OK, what happens is it creates a category in your project browser. You have a furniture assembly right here. Okay. You can select it. Okay. Unlike groups, like when you make a group, okay, you create that group and you could actually, explode it and basically have that group and then have the group in the project. Assemblies stay intact, okay? So when I'm working with an assembly, basically you can see it stays intact no matter what. There's a category, furniture, right here. We have a ribbon that basically is dedicated to the assembly, okay? And you can click on assembly. You have properties listed here. I'm just going to go into properties here. And I want to put a type mark in here. I'm just going to call it the same as the family. All right. 001CL. Okay. All right. So if I go in, let's say I want to create the next assembly. I'm just going to come in here quickly, select my items here. Let's see, got to be careful right there. Okay, so I'm making sure I choose that file cabinet to the right. Okay, didn't get it, so let me hold Control and select it. Okay, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to create this again. I'm going to create another assembly right here. Okay, and you can see that it automatically puts like the next number on the group. So it's going to be furniture. I'm going to call it 1, but this one I'm going to call L. Okay, 001L. Okay, because my furniture's on the left side. I'm going to say this is, and this includes like the wall here. This includes the other 2 walls. And I'm going to click OK here. Okay, and again, I'm going to go into the properties and I'm going to go set that up as the same mark. This one I'm going to call it 001L. Okay. All right. Now, if I go in, this is a left side also. It's the same setup as I have here. If I go in and create a cubicle from here, okay, watch this. Oops, come on. Okay, I'm going to hit the assembly button. Now, when I create assembly, notice that I cannot name this one. Okay, it's grayed out. And the reason why it's grayed out is it's exactly the same as this one. So it's stating to you that these are two of the same, okay, assembly. So it won't allow you to name it. It'll even put the category. If I change, here's where you need to be careful. If I change the category, it will allow me to name it, okay? But I'm going to put it back to furniture, and it knows that it's a 101 here, 101L. All right, so I'm going to click and finish that. I'm going to create, oops, let me do this. Let me hide my rooms. Oops, let me just hide my rooms here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go create a assembly from this wall here. Okay, and I'm going to finish the rooms across, and you'll see exactly what's going on here. So I'm going to choose this, call this. Okay, I'm going to call this a 1W. Okay, for wall. Okay, that's just a wall. Okay, and then I'm going to create the last 3 here, and we're going to get started. You know, I'm going to start to understand these. So we'll create this. Okay. Call this a CR for corner right. Okay, and we're going to create this. Oops, this way. Okay. CLR. Oh, the W. Okay, there we go. I'll call this a R for right. Okay, and again, if I go and create this one, if I create this and one, it will name it the same. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to open up. I need to go to edit my properties here. All right, so I'm going to go open up. I created what is called a assembly schedule here. And if I go into the assembly schedule, you can see here, all right, that's why I had the issue. See, I have a different system here, so I have a different family. All right, so I'm gonna have to go correct this one. All right, and this one I believe is, I have my left, my center. Let me go back to the floor plan. Bear with me one sec, sorry. All right, call this my 001 CR. Okay, this is my 001R. Okay, and this one was not created. So which one is missing now? So if I go back to my assembly schedule, all right, this one, where's this? Okay, oh, that's my W. Okay, okay. All right, so as you can see, I have assembly schedule. The assembly schedule is quite interesting, okay? The only thing that we cannot really put into an assembly schedule is the actual room name and the room number. So you can see that I created some parameters here, okay? Calling it a room name and a room number. And yes, I could come in here and type in, if I choose to do so, I happen to know that this is all in 201, okay? So I could just come in here and change all these to 201 at any time. Okay. But here's the interesting thing. This one W, okay, I need to change this. Okay. I can't change that now that it's already in here. So if I tried to put this into the furniture category, I couldn't do that. The only thing I could do is basically remove this one W, okay, or like what you may want to do is you may want to filter out the schedule and you don't want to see the one W. You could say, let me see all the furniture, okay, and just leave the furniture systems out. That's why it is important to know what category you would like to place the assembly in, okay? So an example is I have the furniture schedule. Yes, I have a ton of different equipment here. I have the furniture system schedule, okay? And I have a ton of different panels for the furniture system in here. Well, if I go to the assembly schedule, basically I know I have these types in. I could have used family type also to list it, but here's the problem if I use that. I'm going to go tag the assembly, okay? I'm going to come in, choose to tag the assembly. Okay, and I created, you have to create an assembly tag, and you basically have to put in your parameters. All right, if I choose the different assembly, okay, it will, oops, this one wasn't done. Okay, I could do the middle one here. That's the one W. Notice that it says these, my tag happens to have the name of the category, the name of the family, in the actual type mark. That's why I had to type in the type mark. So you can see here that the wall that I created is listed as furniture system. Okay. So that's why you should not use the name for the family or for the assembly. You should just use the type mark for the assembly. Okay. Now the nice thing about this is, okay, just like as in groups, you could take this and you could bring it in, you could drag it in, you could copy it, okay, and you could move it. So what I'm going to do is just take these and, hold on, let me just move these up a little, okay. Come on. All right. All right. And I could just take this, if I want to use this corner left, just like you do, you can just take it and drag it and drop it, okay, into your project, just like you do with the group. Okay, now, with that, we can go in, okay, and with that assembly, we could go in and create other views. We could go and modify it. So if I select this, right, let me select this one, okay, I could edit that assembly if needed, just like you can with the group. I could disassemble it, okay, because in order to put this into individual objects again, I could disassemble it, okay, and I could go in and create views with this also, all right. So I could come in, and first thing I want to do is create some views, okay. So I'm going to come in here, choose this cubicle. Let me choose the corner. Yeah, I'll choose that one and create some views from that. And essentially, when you come, you get this dialog box. You could come in and manipulate the dialog box, set up the scale that you want to create your views. Notice that we have many different, okay, categories we can, and so I'm going to choose like the 3D. I'll choose a plan. I'll choose one section. I'll choose section A. I'll choose, no, you know what? I'll choose both sections. And I'll turn off, let's see, elevation bottom. I'll turn off the left elevation because we don't want to see that wall. I'll leave the right, the front, and the back. I'll create a parts list, and I'll create a material takeoff so you can see the different materials. Now, when we do this, we can easily come in and apply view templates if we wanted to. All right, so typically you may have like view templates for some of your larger elevations or your floor plans. Yes, I could click here and apply a view template like you typically, okay, choose view templates. I could come in here and create a sheet also for that particular view. So I'm going to come in here and choose the sheet there, and basically I'm going to click OK. And what it's going to do is going to basically create different views automatically. All right, so if I come in here and I expand, now this is independent of your sheets that you normally have. Okay, so basically you have your sheets listed up here. You have all your different views right here. I can again open up, have an independent sheet. I could come and take views and place them on the sheet. Okay, well, let's go into that view and just shade it a little. All right, so there's my setup. Okay, so I could come in, you could go and place, you have all your call outs set up for you. Yes, you have to come and manipulate your sections or turn them off or hide different sections that you don't want. Okay, here's a little secret here. Sometimes in the group, you may want to turn off individual objects. So like if I want to turn off a panel, you could tab to that object. And yes, you could go in and right click and hide or change the graphics also. Okay, so you could change elements within there. Okay, but remember, whatever you change, you're basically telling it for that particular drawing that you don't want to see that item, because whatever you hide in the view is not going to be there. Okay, well, let me just open that view again. So here's my 3D view. See, I rotated it. Should have rotated it back. Hold on. Just back to normal. There we go. Okay, so on the sheet, it's going to update. All right, come on. All right, let me do this. We have a parts list also. This is the nice thing. All right, it creates its own little schedule here, and it's called the part list. So basically, whatever is built into the cubicle is basically listed here. Okay. So you basically have all the different, this is basically filtering down from my large furniture schedule and my large furniture system schedule. Okay, yes, you can manipulate this and basically make it a lot more streamlined. Okay. All right. Now, here's where we start manipulating. Hold on a sec. Let me close some of these. Okay. Here's where we go in and start manipulating some of the schedules. The view that I created is attached to this cubicle. Okay. I have a duplicated that I copied down here. Okay. So what happens is this, and I'm going to tag this so you can see what happens when I do this. I'm going to go in and let me just tag this cubicle. Okay. And I am going to choose, and I am going to take this cubicle and I'm going to modify this cubicle. All right. But before I do that, I'm going to take this and I'm going to say acquire the views. Okay. Because remember, the views are attached to this cubicle. Okay. And this is the same cubicle. It's the same CL cubicle. But what I want to do is I want to take this cubicle and modify it. Okay. So I want these views, because this view look exactly like this. I want these views attached to this. So I'm going to choose this cubicle. When I choose this, notice I have an acquire views button right here. Okay. If I click on this one, it's not going to acquire the views. The views are already associated to this one. So I'm going to click on this one and say acquire the views. Okay. So now the views are attached to this cubicle. I can come in and edit this cubicle. So I'm going to come in here and edit, okay, the assembly. Okay, now you could remove items, you could add items, okay. So what I may do is just take this chair and remove it, okay. And then the chair's going to stay in place, okay. I'll remove the chair, okay. All right, so what it says, the edit caused a new assembly to be created. Okay. And what it did was this. Notice that the name is removed from that assembly, but it gave it a name. It gave it a number itself. Okay. So what it did was this is going to be, this is, I can see it right here. It's called the 001S. All right. So if I take this and click on it, it's going to be 001S. Okay. I'll call this, let me go back and edit the type again, give it a type mark. I'll call it the 001S also. Okay. Okay. So you can see that, you know, it's similar. Well, I could take this chair and say, push that over there. Okay. All right. So this is not part. I could go add that chair back in. So now I could come in if I choose to do so. I could come in and create views for that particular. Okay. So that's just another way you could go in and start modifying your assembly. Okay. Whatever you do, it's always going to name your assembly for you. Okay. If it's the same, it'll give it the same name. That way, if I go and I modify let's say I modify the left one right here, it will update automatically. All of them will update. And the views will all remain the same. But remember, if I create a duplicate, okay, and you want those views attached, you have to acquire the view. Okay, so right here you have to come in. If I wanted to take this, okay, there's nothing the same here. Okay, but if I take this and I copy it, come on, there we go. Okay, notice that I could click on this one and I could acquire the views. Okay, so that's a nice benefit here. That really is. So, okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is this is, you know, typical floor plan. What's in the floor plan? I could go back to my assembly schedule. Okay. I could add in properties. Okay. You have many different fields we could come in and place. Okay. Notice there's a category called assembly, so you can build parameters for that particular. Okay, category. If I go into um, my project parameters, okay, and I go to add in project parameters here, notice there is an assemblies category there. So if you want to add in additional categories, you can add those in. Okay, so all right. I'm going to go open up my structure for this. Okay, so I'm going to go do one more set of assemblies. Okay, so bear with me 1 second. Okay, so nope, don't want to manage the links. Okay, so I'm going to go open up my 3D foundation here. Okay, all right. So basically, I have some pairs that are supporting my columns here. Okay, and I need to be careful. This is something you need to be careful of. I want to make a group, not a group, an assembly out of this pair. Okay, so I have some rebar installed in here, a couple of concrete columns and foundations. It's going to be my pair. I have the steel column listed at top. That's basically going further up. All right, but what I'm going to do is this. I'm just going to come in here and select this. I want to make an assembly out of this. Okay. Make sure, and this is important no matter when you work with assemblies, make sure you remove the items, okay, because it will affect the appearance of your views, okay. So I don't want the steel column in here, so I'm going to remove that steel column, okay. All right, and I'm going to make a pair out of this. All right, an assembly here, so I'm going to choose the assembly. Okay, we're going to call it. So notice that all the categories that are part of this pair will be listed. So I'm going to call this a foundation. Okay, and I'm going to call this a 001. Okay, P for pair. Okay, all right. So just like everything else, and notice that I had turned on the visibility of all the rebar, okay, so you can see it. So this is something you want to think about when you go to create your assembly, okay? If you create the assembly and you turn on the rebar, when you create the views, that rebar is going to be in the project. Right now, I could take rebar and select it, okay? And I can basically change the visibility on that rebar, okay? When I build an assembly, I don't have that option. Okay. The only way I could turn the rebar off is to actually hide it. So let me go back in here. I'm going to create another assembly right here. Exact same thing. This one, I'll keep the column in this one. Okay, so that's why I said I'm going to show you the importance of making sure you choose. So I'm going to keep the column in this one. I'm going to make an assembly here. All right, so it's going to make it, okay. It wants to make it a 1, but I'm going to say, yeah, I'll keep it a 1. And I'll click OK here. Okay. All right. So if I go here and select this, okay, I can come in and create views for this, and I'll just create a couple of views here. I'll create the 3D view, the plan view, turn off some of the sections, and I'll make like just the elevations. Okay, I'll make a part list, a material list, and I'll tell it to make a rebar schedule also. Okay, so notice that it will start putting in schedules that are associated to the objects that you choose. Okay, so I'm going to put the rebar schedule in. I'll click OK here. Okay, my assembly is now created with its views listed right here. Here are all the views. But notice when I look at the view, it has all my rebar and everything associated with it. If I go to one of the elevations, the elevations will have that information. There's no way I could come in here and turn those items off. Okay? So I could tab to it and select the rebar but notice that it's grayed out. Everything is grayed out. So what you can do, if I don't want to see the rebar, I can select it and hide it in the view. Okay, so I could do that. Okay, it actually selected another rebar. Let me choose this one again. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay, now remember I said I wanted to make the other, okay, view. So let me just go back here. Okay, and I said I created the other column right here. This is the other assembly. I'm going to go create an assembly view. Notice I could right click on here and say create assembly views and basically have the same settings here. All right, I'm going to go open this one up. Remember, I placed the steel column at the top into the view. So if I go look at the elevation, let's say go to the front elevation. Okay, oh, should have do the section. Let me see, didn't do the section. The column wasn't added at that time. Okay, let me go do one more. I just wanted you to see, you would see a steel column come all the way up. Okay. It looked like it was cropped off or I did not select it. So let me try one more time real quick and we'll be done. Okay. Yep, she's in there. We'll create the assembly. We'll see if it takes this time. Yep, it's already saying that it's there. Okay, so it's not picking it for some reason. Okay, yes, let's go. Let's do a section this time. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. So the section, the elevations were not showing the column. This is a column right here. Okay, that's why it looks so tall. Okay, but there's a column listed right here. If I just change the display settings here, okay, then you'll see the column. Okay, so that's why it's very important when you go in and create an assembly to make sure you're choosing the right objects. Okay, now for my architects out there, you guys are creating a project and you have a building. Maybe you have a portico, maybe outside the building, some sort of portion of the building that's associated with the building, but you need to detail it independent. Use an assembly. You know, that's what I tell all my clients. Use the assembly so you could go in and you could document that portion of the building. Maybe you have a portion of the building that you're collaborating with and you want to send just the documentation to one firm, create an assembly. Use that documentation opposed to your regular construction documentation. Okay. So those are the benefits of assemblies. Okay, much better to use than groups. You have a little more, okay, uh, accessibility to the view, and you have views that you can actually look at opposed to groups when you have to actually pull it into the project and somehow visualize it. Okay, so if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer your questions.